Now, Lawrie McMenemy was a local lad. I mean, and the strange thing was in my own family, my dad used to say when we were kids that he'd gone to the same school as Lawrie McMenemy. And whenever Lawrie McMenemy was on the telly, my dad would say, "Oh, there's me mate." And we would kind of laugh, yeah, Dad, yeah, 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 Dad. And my dad, of course, was a big Sunderland fan. But he used to tell us when we were, that when he was a young man, that, and his father as well, that when it came to going to the matches, yes, they went to Sunderland, but when Sunderland were playing away, they would occasionally go over to St James's Park. So the rivalry between the two cities, in football wise, wasn't as intense. Not until around about the 1970s, really. I couldn't remember the make and model of my car.
Hello and welcome to Random Fandom, the podcast where we talk to a different fan each week about a different team that we randomly pull out the hat, or so we usually do. So it's been a bit of a chaotic couple of weeks for me and John. First off, we had the Wrexham episode that dropped, and just the reaction to that has been absolutely fantastic. It's just been brilliant to have that many people sort of following us now and picking us up and hopefully, taking Random Fandom to new heights. We drew Brackley Town out of the hat that week, and we were supposed to be having a Brackley Town fan on. I got all excited because one of my good buddies lives in Brackley and he said he'd hook us up with a Brackley Town fan. However, he works in Formula One, so he's away for 2 weeks in Bahrain and said he'll sort me out a fan when he gets back. So we were like, okay, what are we going to do? It's FA Cup weekend this weekend, or the weekend that's just gone. We're following Oxford United, so let's follow Oxford United and get an Oxford United fan on. So I don't know if this is your fault, John, or if it's Steve's, but somehow the Oxford United, let's go and find an Oxford United fan. John pings me and says, John, we've got, Rob, I've got you a fan. Who did you have a fan of, John?
I believe it was Oxford City.
Oxford City, which is a completely different team that we're not following. Sorry, Oxford City. So we were like, well, we've got to record. It's been 2 weeks. We need to do something. So it was like, well, Oxford are playing Sunderland in the FA Cup. We're supposed to follow whoever wins that. That's our kind of our format for following the FA Cup. Sunderland won, therefore we inherited Sunderland. So we found ourselves a Sunderland fan. Steve redeemed himself on his chief scout. He's washed away the Oxford City memories. So we have ourselves a Sunderland fan. So let's get ourselves introduced. Let's find out. We know you're a Sunderland fan, but we'll listen to the crowd and find out who you are. Okay, what's your name and how long have you been supporting Sunderland?
Hello there, I'm Damian. I'm a proud Mackem and Sunderland fan, and I have been for just over 50 years now.
Okay, and is it a family thing, or obviously, or just local thing, born within walking distance of the stadium?
I think you probably know that if you're born in a city like Sunderland, you don't really have a choice on the matter. When I was a kid at school, you didn't have kids supporting any other team other than Sunderland. They might have flirted occasionally with another team, but that would have definitely been their second team. Everybody was a Sunderland fan. And it was actually, I remember when I did go off to university in 1985 in Sheffield, arriving there, and I think it was almost for the first time, meeting people who would come from different places but wouldn't actually support their hometown, and that just didn't really compute with me. I'd meet lads from Barnsley or Huddersfield, and I said, "Oh, I've been to your ground." They say, "Like, what, Old Trafford?" I said, "Oh, well, yeah, but hey, and I found that totally bizarre. I couldn't understand why anybody would ever want to support anybody other than their hometown team." But I have previously listened to your podcast here, and I am aware that one of you doesn't support their hometown team, if I'm not wrong.
Hey, John, he might be looking at you there. Although technically, I don't either.
Right, okay. I wasn't aware. Okay.
Yeah, although John's worse, I think. I mean, come on, John. You should be a Tottenham fan,
I was born in London, so I've got like 15 hometown teams.
True.
But yeah. Technically, I should be a Tottenham fan.
Oh well.
But yeah, so I mean, I was born in '66, in December '66. So I'm coming up. I'll be coming to my 60th birthday this year. And yes, I've got two older brothers and me dad. And my dad, of course, was a big Sunderland fan. But he used to tell us when we were that when he was a young man, that, and his father as well, that when it came to going to the matches, yes, they went to Sunderland, but when Sunderland were playing away, they would occasionally go over to St James's Park. So the rivalry between the two cities, what in football wise, wasn't as intense, not until around about the 1970s, really, when it became quite nasty, I guess, you know. But
Yeah.
yes, so I was actually alive when England were champions of the world. I was I was born in December, so I was only like a 3 month fetus at the time, so I can't really claim any influential
See,
credit or anything like that. I played no
you just
significant part.
you're just too young. You're just too young.
I was just too young, but we were the champions of the world when I was born. But I can't say that that was my first memory of a football
No,
match.
so nice little segue there for first memories. What do you remember your first game, first Sunderland game?
Well, you know, obviously, when people think about Sunderland Football Club, and as you're just alluding to the FA Cup there, everybody naturally thinks of the 1973 Cup final when Sunderland, as a second division side, beat the very mighty Leeds United 1-0. And at the time, I would have been 6.5 years old then. And yes, I would love to say, I really would love to say that my first memory of a game was the 1973 Cup final. And one of the things about memories, I think you do edit them and you tailor them sometimes to show yourself in a better light, almost, you know, like give yourself a bit of credit. But I'm sure I did watch it. I don't think, as the fifth child in six, I don't think I would have been afforded the best seat in the house. I don't even know if we had a colour television in those days, to be honest. But like, what I do remember in terms of that occasion, and this would be my first football memory, not exactly a match, but going to see the parade of the trophy coming through the
Right,
streets
okay.
of Sunderland. And I do remember standing at a bus stop in a part of Sunderland called East Harrington. And as the open top bus came through with the parade and and the crowds, everybody was going wild. Well, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands were there. As I say, I was 6 years old. But coincidentally, the bus stop where I was standing on that day in the summer of 1976, I would go on to go stand at that bus stop regularly on my way home from school. And that would often evoke lots of very, very happy memories. I would stand there waiting for the bus in the pouring rain and, think back to those days when Bobby Kerr was coming through holding the trophy aloft. So that is my first football memory. But my first match would be a couple of years later in August of 1975. And Sunderland played a Division Two game against Blackpool. And it would have been, I think it was probably the last week of the school summer holidays. And that was the first and only game I was taken to that season. And we won 2-0. Tony Towers, a guy who, like one of those utility players we signed from Man City, he scored both goals. And again, it's like everybody will say when they go to the first game, when you go up the stairs and those old stands, those old wooden stands, which is what we had at Walker Park, and then you see the ground, you see the pitch for the first time. It is, and nothing will ever recreate that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
It's like I mean, you do still get that buzz, and you still get it is spine tingling, and you get the goose pimples and everything every time you go in there and you see it. But that first time is just extraordinary.
It's
And I
it's
was,
it's why I think a lot of people do like because I know exactly what you mean. I still remember the first time I went to Highbury, but you sort of get a little bit of that when you go like on away days. The very first time you see a new stadium for the first time, and I
that's
think
true.
that's what maybe a lot of away day guys like to do because you kind of it's that or what's it going to look like? I'm coming up the stairs, and that like you say, the moment when you first see the pitch in front of you for any stadium,
But
obviously your home pitch is the one that you like the most. But I just think there's something about it, definitely.
it's a different green, particularly the night match under floodlights. And I do know, like the next season, I went to one game. So in that first season of the Blackpool match, we got promoted. This was the only year in the Division One of the 1970s. The 1970s, other than the cup, was a pretty desperate time for Sunderland. The next 50 years haven't been much better. The next season in Division One, we got relegated, but we had a spell of bizarrely we had 4 consecutive home games and we won them all. The first was at Bristol City 1-0, and then we played Middlesbrough, beat them 4-0. We had a midweek match against West Brom, we won 6-1, and then we beat West Ham 6-0. So this is extraordinary run of results for a team that was going to go on and get relegated. But the West Bromwich Albion game was the one that I went to. And that was the only game I went to that season, I think. But it was a night match. And the night match again was just that you walk in the stadium and you see under the lights. It's an incredible feeling. And even though I was a kid and I did get excited about the game, I was just you're looking around all the time and you see things like, I mean, you've got it's a multi-sensory experience with all the sights and the sounds and the smells and everything. But you were just, I was just focused on all what seemed to be fireflies. I thought there were fireflies in the opposite stands. And of course, there's people just lighting their fags. But I would look and I was thinking, like, this is what are those? I really did think there were fireflies in the opposite stands. But yes, so 6-1, and that was my first night match. But we got relegated.
Now, so before we'll come back to some good memories, we have to dive into this one. We like to talk about, fans' lowest lows. We've all got them. We've all got that moment when we shut our eyes and think, oh, God, never let me experience anything like that again. Now, have you got one? Now, I know you just said Sunderland hasn't been great for the last 50 years, so maybe you've got a few. But is the one that stands out of just, oh, Christ?
What it isn't, I won't say that it's not the 4-4 Charlton playoff final. Now, that was, I think, 97-98 season in the playoffs. We got to Wembley. A game which, talk about putting you through the ringer. You were absolutely exhausted at the end of that match. 3-3 after 90 minutes, 4-4, and then the penalty shootout. And there were 2 penalty takers, Lee Clark and Kevin Phillips, had gone off injured. And it goes down, everyone's scoring to the 13th penalty. Niall Quinn didn't take any of the first 5. He took the 6th penalty. And I remember watching him go up to take that. And he looked shattered. I mean, I was exhausted, but like, poor Niall, and I really felt for him. But he put it away. Then they scored, and then Mickey Gray, local lad from Sunderland. It was a terrible, a Gareth Southgate type penalty, straight into the arms of a keeper, easy to save. And that was shattering. It really was shattering. But I knew then that we had the kernel of a very good side, and that probably the next season we would be okay and we would get promotion. So that isn't. It probably would be going down to the 3rd division for the first ever time in 1988, I think it was, where we finished near the bottom of Division 2 and ended up in a playoff situation. In those days, in the playoffs, the team which finished 3rd bottom was involved in a round robin thing with, not a round robin, but like a playoff with like the teams which finished 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the 3rd division.
Oh, so yeah. I remember. Yeah.
So we as 3rd bottom in the 2nd division, we played Gillingham, who'd finished 5th, I think, in Division 3, who had a very young Tony Cascarino playing for them. And maybe possibly Steve Bruce might have played for them as well. I'm not quite sure about Steve Bruce. But we had, a couple of seasons earlier, we'd had our Messiah who had come to save us, and that was Lawrie McMenemy. He'd come. Now, Lawrie McMenemy was a local lad. I mean, the strange thing was, in my own family, my dad used to say when we were kids that he'd gone to the same school as Lawrie McMenemy. And whenever Lawrie McMenemy was on the telly, my dad would say, oh, there's me mate. And we would kind of laugh, yeah, Dad, yeah. And when he was appointed the Sunderland manager in 1985, I think it was, I mean, the town went crazy. Lawrie McMenemy was going to come and save the club and we're going to take us to the dizzy heights. And he was interviewed, I remember he was interviewed by the local news programme Look North, and they took him back to the school that he'd attended when he was a kid. And I remember sat there with a couple of my brothers and sisters and my dad was very nonchalantly sat in the armchair smoking a cigarette going, oh, there's me mate. And they take Lawrie McMenemy back to his school, And they showed him around and said, "Do you remember coming here, Lawrie?" He's going, I remember coming here. Yeah, I used to sit over there in that corner over there." And then they took him into the headmaster's office. And my dad is Terry Slee was my dad's name. And they took him into the headmaster's office. And they said to him, "Well, Lawrie, do you remember ever coming here? Were you ever in trouble with the headmaster?" And he says, I remember being here with a lad called Terry Slee." We're like, "Oh, Dad! Dad!" And my dad just sat there going, "Well, I told you." And he said, I was here with a lad called Terry Slee." And the headmaster said to us, he said to the lad Slee, he said, "Slee, why were you talking during assembly?" And Terry Slee said, "Sir, it wasn't me, it was McMenemy." And he says, "I got the six of the best and he got let off." And this is like, this, all throughout all these years, all this time that my dad had gone on about this, we barely gave him any credence. And there it was, Lawrie McMenemy himself mentioning my dad's name on the local news. It was incredible.
Oh my gosh.
But as it turned out, he was a bloody awful manager. Lovely guy, bloody awful manager. So he ended up taking us down into the third division for the first time in our illustrious history. I mean, that was the one thing about being a Sunderland fan as a kid growing up. You were constantly told of this amazing, illustrious, famous history that we had. We'd won the league championship 6 times. Only 4 or 5 teams had done it more than us. We would nickname the Bank of England club. We were the team of all talents. But all of these were like memories of in the dimmer and more distant past. It's like, when were these ever going to happen? So like after the '73 Cup final at the time, if I'd have known then, if my dad had told me then that this would be the only time in the next 52 years, this is it. This is our only trophy, other than until we beat Tranmere in the EFL trophy at Wembley about 3 seasons ago in an empty, because of COVID, it was an empty Wembley as well. So that's our only trophy that we've lifted in my lifetime, It's, oh God, Dad, why didn't we go on orienteering weekends instead? Why did you get me into football? Could you not have got me piano lessons, So anything but get me into football.
See, that's how I would have felt if I'd been a Tottenham fan.
Yes, quite absolutely. I can appreciate that for sure.
Oh man. Okay.
It's been a difficult ride sometimes. Yes. So the lowest would be the first time in the third division, but the 4 seasons in the in the last 10 years or so when we were in League One, that was purgatory. That was absolute purgatory being there, and you never thought we never thought we'd reach the dizzy heights we are today. Had we been doing this, have this conversation 3 or 4 years ago, you'd have been talking to a very disgruntled football fan. But as it happens, I'm rather gruntled today.
Okay, so we've done the lowest low, which bizarrely involved the most laughter we've ever had on the lowest low with your dad's story there. But so what's the highest high then? Is it getting back to the Premier League or is it something else?
Well, the thing with the Peter Reid years, when we finished 7th twice, were brilliant. Peter Reid had a very simple philosophy of football, solid at the back, 2 lads on the wings whose only job was to put the cross in, hit Niall Quinn nodded down, Kevin Phillips will put it away. And it was and have 2 hard lads in the centre, one of Kevin Ball, one of them who was like a bit of a hero. So those years, but honestly, this last 10 months have been incredible. It's been the best time ever to be, in my lifetime, to be a Sunderland fan. The last 10 months, going back to the playoff matches against Coventry last season, when we had we started to, we coined the phrase of like till the end. That was the slogan. That was the motto. I think it largely came about because something which has always been a bugbear of mine, like fans were leaving before the end of the game, 10 minutes before the end of the game, and you think, my God, the Stadium of Light has got pretty good, access. People don't need, and the best part of the game is off the last 10 minutes, and it really, you would watch like games at Old Trafford or whatever, or Anfield on television. and their fans always seem to stay, no matter what the score was. You would see, and their fans have got much longer journey. They've got to get back. They've got to get trains back to London. Their fans, whereas
Easy.
oh, yeah, but no, but seriously, our fan base is in Sunderland largely, and the some of the smaller satellite towns around there. And so they coined this phrase of till the end. And in the playoffs, we had the game against Coventry. We'd won the first game 2-1. We were losing the second leg at the stadium like 1-0. And it's gone to extra time, and it's like the 123rd minute. It's going to go to penalties. We get a corner. Enzo Lafayette takes the ball. He kisses it. He puts it down. He puts the corner in, and Dan Ballard rises. It's the most awkward header you'll ever see. He like jumps, but his head's down here. He's like Herman Munster, and the ball goes in, and it's bedlam. It's absolute bedlam. And then following that into the final, when we play Sheffield United in a game we don't do well, we're not playing well. We're losing 1-0. Sheffield United score a second, but stupidly, not for Sunderland fans, but they have VAR involved in the playoff final. It hasn't been, in operation all season. It wasn't in operation in the other playoff games, but only in the playoff final at Wembley, they're going to use VAR. Sheffield United score a second goal. The referee allows it, the linesman allows it, everyone's running back. VAR intervene. Sheffield United have got a man interfering with play in front of the keeper. Offside. Fantastic. Okay, gives us a lifeline. We're still in the game. And then with about, I think it was about 15 minutes to go, Eliza Mayenda scores a great goal. But the winner scored by Tommy Watson in the 93rd minute. Again, it's till the end. In the 93rd minute, you must have seen it, where he gets a hold of the ball halfway into the Sheffield United half, and he curls the ball along the carpet. The ball never leaves the pitch. It's Thierry Henry-esque. I don't believe Thierry Henry ever scored a better goal than Tommy Watson's goal at Sunderland against Sheffield United in the playoff final last May. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was one of those moments where you are so happy that you are dizzy. You're jumping up and down, but you're dizzy. You go lightheaded. And even the following day, I mean, as I say, I'm turning 60 this year, but I don't really feel myself an old man. But the following day, after that playoff final, I was sat at home, and obviously I spent the entire day just watching more video of the game. The next morning I wake up, did it really happen? Oh my God, we're in the Premier League. And so I'm watching my video, and then suddenly I realised that I can't remember a couple of the Sunderland players. I think that's a bit odd. And I'm trying to go through the team, and there's 4 Sunderland players I can't remember. And I think, well, what else can I not remember? And I realized I couldn't remember the names of 3 of my nephews and nieces. Hadn't a clue. I didn't, and I thought, what else can I couldn't remember the make and model of my car.
What?
I thought, what the hell is going? And obviously, I looked out the window, saw my car, and I can't tell you my disappointment. But really, I recognised the number plate, but I didn't recognise the car at all. But then I remembered who my family were, and all the other memories came back. But I honestly believe, I mean, some people might say that that's a senior moment or something, but I honestly believe it was because of the elation, the euphoria, the ecstasy of the playoff final. I mean, my brain had just gone into overdrive. Do you know what I mean?
That's great.
Sorry, I do go on a bit.
No, this is exactly why we want the stories. But you've name checked 2 people in there, and when I was doing my research into Sunderland to kind of find some little bits, sometimes we play fan chants, and we tried to get John to guess what the fans are singing. But this time, it's actually 2 fan chants that made it into the charts. I don't remember either of them, but I'm going to see if. Well, John, you should be able to. Here we go. Here's the first one.
Oh, I could fly without wings on the back of Reedy's Kings. A 3 o'clock I'm as happy as can be. 'Cause the good times
Cheer up, Peter Reid.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what can it mean?
you got it. You got it right. So that one was cheer up, Peter Reid. Apparently,
Obviously, the Newcastle fans have got a different version of that.
Yes. It sold 40. It was released by fans in 1996. It sold 40,000 copies and peaked at number 41 in the UK charts. And all the proceeds went to cancer charities. So yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember this, but obviously before Netflix's Fly in the Wall documentary thing, Sunderland Till I Die, which massively raised the profile of the club. So, like, you know, I mentioned before that I taught English to foreign students. It was amazing the number of times when I said I was, I lived in Brighton, and I was telling the students that I was from Sunderland, and they would go, "Oh, Sunderland Till I Die." I mean, these were lads from like Middle East, from all over the world, so that really raised the profile. But in 1996-97, they did one of the early Fly in the Wall documentaries called Premier Passions, when Peter Reid was the manager of Sunderland, and it had him in the what do you call the dressing room? What do you call the dressing room again? And he's giving his team talk, and it's just every other word is bleeped, bleep, bleep. And it was illuminating, to say the least. You had his assistant, a guy called Bobby Saxton, and it was just non-stop swearing all the way through. Like, you'd say nothing like it, but yeah.
Old school managers.
Yeah. Absolutely. I remember what Sheffield United had won, when Neil Warnock was the manager, and he was telling his players, "You've got to die to get 3 points. You've got to die."
Well, 3 years after
now, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 years after 96, 1999, another one got released. Then it doesn't say. I don't know that it's made it into UK charts. It just says it made it to number 1 in the NME indie charts. So have a little listen to this one. This one might be a bit louder, actually. I'm not sure I changed the volume. So get ready, John. Any idea what that was, John?
Well, I know this the tune because we sing it at Liverpool, but I have no idea what song that is. Go on.
It was Niall Quinn's Disco Pants. They go up from his ass to his chest.
They are better than Adam and the Ants. Niall Quinn's Disco Pants. The story of that is, like, this was actually when he was playing for Man City. Now, obviously, Niall Quinn is a big figure at Sunderland still to this day. And I think it was on a pre-season tour when he was playing for Man City. They say he was wearing these very peculiar shorts, very long shorts or something like that. And I believe it was started by one of the Man City players. I can't remember his name. But whether the Man City supporters sang it before Sunderland supporters did, I'm not sure. But yeah, we embrace that and sing it on the terraces for sure.
Niall Quinn used to drink in in my local pub, in the Dog and Duck with so Steve Edwards, the Swansea City fan.
Oh yes,
used to go in there and drink there, and Niall Quinn used to be there when he played for Arsenal.
Well, Niall Quinn, I mean, he has, you probably know, he became, obviously, after playing, he became the chairman of the club. But he has a quote which is emblazoned in several places around the Stadium of Life, which is something like, I learned my trade at Arsenal, I became a footballer at Manchester City, but Sunderland got under my skin. I love Sunderland. And that is, you see that quote all around the Stadium of Light. But yes, he was a lovely guy, a fantastic player, heavy drinker. Yeah, he likes his Guinness for sure. But going back almost to the low moments, he briefly managed Sunderland in what year? It was about 2005, 2006. That was it. So have we been relegated, or we were just in the Championship? I know we'd been relegated. We'd started the season in the Championship, and the first 4 games we lost, and we hadn't scored a goal. And Niall Quinn was the chairman stroke manager. We were desperate for a manager. We couldn't get anyone. And the club had been taken over by a consortium with Niall Quinn, the Irish consortium. Niall Quinn was involved in that. And I was living in Brighton, and I had a mate of mine who was from Southend, and that was Sunderland's next game away at Southend in Essex. I'd never been to Southend before. I hadn't a clue where it was. But we both went to that. Now, as a Sunderland fan, you're thinking we played league games against Southend. We've got to win this one. Surely we've got to beat Southend. And we went to Southend, and Sunderland got beat 3-1. And after that, that was a real low moment as well. But following that game, Niall Quinn got in touch with Roy Keane, who he appointed. And the thing was, he had to build bridges there because following this Saipan fallout, when I think Roy Keane was accusing Niall Quinn of siding with the management side, so Niall Quinn had to build bridges and did his bit, but said, "Listen, this is a fantastic opportunity for you." Roy Keane came in, and he won us the league. So we went, after 5 games, 0 points, 1 goal. He came in, and we won the league by, I think, with games to spare. So that was, again, you have to go at the very bottom, the absolute day, before you rise like the phoenix, from those ashes. And Roy Keane was very good for us, at least for a couple of seasons, yeah.
Well, kind of segueing from yesteryear's players that were connected to Arsenal and coming into Sunderland to kind of bring us up to kind of thinking about where you are at the moment. Fair to say that an ex-Arsenal player in the form of Granit Xhaka has had a decent impact on that Sunderland team?
There's a lot of lads who were saying that he might well be the best player ever to have played for Sunderland. And he is a guy now in the twilight of his career. Kevin Phillips obviously was a fantastic player, winner of the Golden Shoe. But Granit Xhaka on the pitch, he's coordinating everything. He is the manager on the park. And it's extraordinary that we got him, especially given the fact that when he left Arsenal, he went over to Leverkusen, won the league. He was captain. They didn't drop a point, which has never happened before in the Bundesliga. Last season, I think they finished second, but, they did very well in the Champions League and all that kind of stuff. And then after the playoff final, our chairman, Kevin Lewis-Dreyfus, this guy who's still only 29, he's been our chairman for 6 years, he got in touch with him and sold him the club, and he's over here. And yeah, it's fair to say he is. I think he will be the signing of the season. I'm not the first person to say that. A lot of pundits are saying that over here on the television. Granit Xhaka probably the signing of the season. He's an extraordinary player. We feel very lucky to have him.
Yeah, he's been fantastic for you this year. I was just pretty happy that he was I think he's out injured, isn't he, at the moment? That's why he missed the trip to the Emirates the other week. Yeah. And you're a different side without him on the park, to be honest.
Well, because it's a young side. And as I said, when he's on the pitch, he's telling everybody, you see him. When the keeper has the ball, he's telling the keeper where to pass to. And then he's telling him where to pass to, the fullback, and he is amazing. So we have, and obviously our manager is very similar to Arsene Wenger, he has that demeanour, very professorial. You expect to see this guy, lecturing, of course, at university, not on the touchline. I mean, the contrast, for example, with your manager, Arteta, the intensity of that man, I couldn't bear to work for Arteta. He would just do, you do my head, and he's just like telling everybody, shout, whereas, Regis Lebris, he just stands there. He's, so cool, so calm, so relaxed. When we score, he celebrates, but otherwise, but the thing is, strangely, as a football fan, that can also drive you nuts. Because you're thinking, come on, get me, tell them what to do, I shout at them, and he's just standing there looking rather thoughtful and pensive, oh my God, but he's absolutely brilliant and very reminiscent, very, of Arsene Wenger.
So what are your thoughts for the rest of this season? Here we are, kind of 26 games in, and you're, other than goal difference, you're slap bang in the centre of the table with Newcastle, that you're only behind on goal difference. when you look at that and the teams that you're ahead of and the teams that you're behind, ahead of Tottenham, Forest, West Ham, kind of, but you do see the likes of, say, Brentford almost making a run at maybe Europe. What do you think about this season right now and what you hope for the rest of it?
But the thing was, I mean, when we were in the Championship, I was one of those who I didn't want to get promoted because you just saw the teams going up and you knew what would happen. You look at what's happening to Burnley at the moment, and in the previous seasons, the teams have gone up still, and it's torture. I mean, the Burnley fans now and the Wolves fans now are just desperate for the season to end because they know they're going down, and it's painful. And Sunderland in the past have experienced those seasons where we had a season when we got 15 points, I think, under Mick McCarthy, and 19 points, and it's just awful. It's like, death by 1,000 cuts. So I was terrified that that's what would happen. And what I really, really didn't want to happen was to get promoted and play the derbies and get hammered twice in the derbies, because we've got a recent history against Newcastle is very, very good. We haven't lost for 10. We've won 7 out of the last 10 and drawn the other 3. And very recently, the one at the Stadium of Light, which we won 1-0, happened to coincide with my birthday. So, which was nice. Scoring that flying header, rising like a salmon majestically to put that in the back of the net was just the best birthday present I have ever received. I can't tell you. But obviously, in the close season, we bought Granit Xhaka and we were buying all these other players who, to be fair, no one had really heard of. Nodi Mukiele, Habib Diarra, Siddiqui, these lads who I'd never heard of, most of us never heard of. And they've been extraordinary. They've been absolutely fantastic. And they all seem really, really nice lads as well. They're very happy. They seem very content to be there and enjoying the ride. So what I feel now is I really don't want us to get Europa Conference or even the Europa League. I mean, particularly the Europa Conference, because I don't know if you've seen the teams who you play against in the Europa Conference. I mean, half of them look like made-up teams. You've never heard of them. You wouldn't have a clue where they are, honestly. I actually did this to, a group of me mates in a WhatsApp chat. I said, which of these are, because we were talking about the Europa Conference, which of these teams made up? And I sent them 6 teams who were in the Europa Conference. Nobody had a clue. We didn't know what country they were from. And I'd much rather play me games more Saturday or Sunday, but not have a Thursday night in, I don't know, Poland or Budapest or something, but against a team who I've never really heard of. If you're in the Champions League, fantastic. Europa League maybe, but if you go to the Europa Conference, your favourites to win it, but is it really worth winning? Is it? I don't know. Not for the it's going to cost you squad.
You wouldn't take that, despite the fact that you've only won one trophy.
No, I wouldn't, because I'd rather build. I do really think that we could build, and it will look at what's happened to Crystal Palace this season. Nottingham Forest. They get into those competitions, they haven't got the squad to deal with it. The demands of playing, because it's not just like 3 or 4 games. I mean, I'm kind of, I'm sure you lads are as well, old enough to remember when the European Cup was, before the Champions League, when every game from the first round was a knockout, and only the champions of the league got in. Apart from famously when, obviously, you have the holders. But you had, I remember 1979, I think it was, when Nottingham Forest played Liverpool in the first round of the European Cup, which was amazing. I think Nottingham Forest won that game. But
thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean that. But, it was great. And the thing about those days as well was that I remember everybody said if Liverpool win the European Cup, everybody wanted Liverpool to win because you were representing all of us. Now, when you look at the Champions League, you've got 5 English teams who finished in the top 8. And it's not unfeasible to imagine that 3 or 4 teams in the semi-final of the Champions League could be English.
Yeah.
I hear that. Honestly, I really, really don't. I would love to go back to European Cup, Cup Winners' Cup, UEFA Cup. I would love to go back to that. But I know that that ship's gone and it's not sailing back anytime soon. But I don't think, no, yeah, you're right. I mean, yes, all we have is the EFL trophy in the last 52 years. Would I not want to do what West Ham...
European Cup competition, yeah. Why not?
It's honestly, just it would stretch the squad too much. I think in a couple of years' time, I'd rather build and finish fourth and get a Champions League position. Maybe I don't know. I know. I don't know.
Well, you're going to find out soon. In fact, I'm not even sure. I was just trying to look it up now to find out when the game is, because we'll be following Sunderland as our next team in the FA Cup now, because that's what
Well,
we're doing.
we've got a very good draw. We've got a very.
You're
very
away to either Port Vale or Bristol, depending on who comes through that one, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll be following. I'm hopeful that we'll continue to follow Sunderland into the next round, and who knows, maybe we'll follow Sunderland all the way to the final, and you'll get another FA Cup on your list of
Our
trophies.
last FA Cup final, of course, was against Liverpool in 1992, and at the time, I was living in Spain. And you know how they always say they used to say this at the start of the FA Cup final, that this match has been screened in 150 countries around the world, and so you always assume that, oh well, wherever I am, I'll be able to watch the game. And so I was living in Asturias in northern Spain in 1992, and we found a bar which was going to show it, but it was all on the same day. I think it was the Lisbon Road Marathon or something like that, and they kept switching from the FA Cup final to this road race, and I was going bonkers in a bar, screaming. Thinking I could not believe it. So it's just like as we're looking at the screen now, almost if you got you would see like in the top corner, you're watching Wembley, and then in the top corner you would just see some people running a road race in Lisbon, and everybody in the bars go, no, don't, and then it would just like overtake the whole screen. It's like, oh my God, I don't believe it. But needless to say, it was I didn't miss much. Liverpool walked over us.
That was another Arsenal player, wasn't it, Michael Thomas?
That's right, indeed. Yeah. And there was a famous quiz question at the time, like who was the last Sunderland player to kick the ball in the 92 Cup final? I'll give you clues in the first half. And that's how bad we were that day. We never really got into the game at all. It was desperate stuff. Yeah. So yeah, never mind. I hope we're not ending on a downer there.
No. Definitely not. Let's.
I want to ask actually about the freakiest goal that's ever been scored in the Premier League. Happened against Liverpool.
That's right.
You want to? Were you there?
I wasn't there. That's the Darren Bent goal with the beachball.
That's right.
Pepe Reina was in goal at the time, I think. I don't know if you noticed, but we played you the other week. Liverpool took away our unblemished record, our unbeaten home record. Which was fabulous to have achieved this. To be in the last team beaten at home this season was an incredible achievement for promoter's side. But there were beach balls at that game. By the people had taken them, they were throwing them on, but it didn't do us any good. It didn't do.
When I saw the beach ball, I felt sick because in 2009, for those people who are not aware of it, a young fan threw on a beach ball onto the field. It was at Anfield, wasn't it?
No, it was at the Stadium of Light.
Was it the Stadium of Light?
But it was a Liverpool fan who threw the ball on, so it was the section with the Liverpool fans, honestly. Yeah. So we completely blameless in this.
And Darren Bent took a shot and it hit the beach ball and went flying in. And it counted.
Didn't your keeper try to save the beach ball? He got confused as to which one to dive for. That was what made it hilarious for me. I think it was what was the name of your keeper at the time?
Pepe
Reina. You see him behind, the ball comes in, it hits the beach ball cannons one way. The ball only takes a slight deflection because it's a beach ball at the end of the day, but he goes for the beach ball. Oh, that was hilarious. Sorry, John.
God, yes,
right, we're going to have to wrap this up because we could be on this forever, Damian. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting to you. We've got one order of business left to do, which is to run the supercomputer and see what team we're going to follow, because we need another team to follow league-wise, and we'll be obviously following Sunderland in the FA Cup. So I'm going to fire up the supercomputer and see who we get to follow next. Right, here we go. Are we ready? Oh, talking about a blast from the past. It's not Arsenal. But I was just showing Damian before we logged on. I said, I was going to bring my University Hall shirt out. So shout out to Windsor Hall Massive from University of Reading. I was showing him my black and white shirt. I thought it might wind him up about Newcastle. But this is Windsor Hall from Reading University. We're following Reading. So I've been to the Medeski Stadium. I've been to Elm Park when I was at uni there a few times. So I've got to know some Reading fans. Come on, Reading fans. This will be easy.
Do you know any?
I know lots of Reading fans, and
All right.
I've got to be able to. I've got to be able to tap one up. Surely, if I can't find a Reading fan, the only thing more embarrassing is if I couldn't find an Arsenal fan. So,
so Steve Edwards can put his feet up. Then can he? He can take a week off.
He can take a week off and go and see if we can get an Oxford City fan. Maybe you can find a Reading. Is there another Reading team you could find the incorrect fan of? Oh, by the way, this has got nothing to do with Reading, Sunderland, or anything. But I saw this story on the BBC. Did either of you guys watch Football Italia on Channel 4 back in the day in the 90s?
Oh, I used to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, BBC had got the rights to it, and they've decided they've gone and got the rights to use this.
Oh yeah. Golazzo.
That's right.
They're bringing the whole thing back. I used to remember, like, early 90s, you'd play on the park afterwards and you'd do the whole... Sing the Golazzo once you put the goal in. I think it's just absolutely brilliant the BBC have done this.
What was
Here
the
it
guy?
comes. Here it comes.
It was like 3 a.m. in the morning, wasn't it?
I don't remember when it was, but
It was a ridiculous time in the morning.
What was his name?
man.
It was called something Richardson, the guy who presented it.
James Richardson.
James Richardson.
He does a fantastic podcast.
Oh, really?
As well, yeah.
Well, don't send people to other podcasts, John. What are you doing?
It's almost as good as ours. It's that good.
Right. On that note, thank you again so much, Damian. Some great stories there, and share this around the Stadium of Light if you can, and see if we can get more listeners than the Wrexham episode. I don't want to make this a competition, but I absolutely do. So, yeah, thanks a lot, Damian.
No bother. Cheers. Enjoyed it.